In today's gospel, what we really think about is that it really doesn't make sense unless Jesus is really putting the person into a position of showing that great faith. Because as there's a Baptist minister, Jim Somerville, who had a really good sermon on this particular um, gospel that I'm kind of borrowing from. But he says that basically what Jesus does is that he ignores, he dismisses, and then he insults because he ignores the person. The apostles are wondering, get this person out of here. She's becoming a pain, just get her out. So Jesus ignores her. Then when she makes her plea, he kind of dismisses her that he's only come to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And that's an interesting one because did you end up making a wrong turn? Because if you've only come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, what are you doing in Gentile territory? Tyre and Sidon are not Jewish territory, they're Gentile territory. So if you've only come for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, what are you doing there? What's your point, and so that's that dismissing, and then finally calls her a dog, the dog's, you know and then some try to make it easier by saying, well, it's just kind of like a puppy dog, or a dog that's a house dog. But really, when we think about the time back at the time of Jesus, really the dog was a dog. It was not an animal that was to be loved and adored, and pampered like today. We always say that, when we see these big houses being built up, that every dog has to have their own bedroom. But that's not the way it was back then. It certainly was very different. And so a dog was a dog. It was an insult. And so what does she do? She comes back with that great statement of faith that even the dogs eat the scraps that fall from the master's table. And then Jesus applauds her faith, your faith, be it done to you as you wish, that your daughter would be healed. But when we think about Jesus with the Gentiles, when we think about Jesus with the centurion who says that, you don't have to come to my house, my servant will be healed just by your word, because your word has authority, just like mine, in a more limited way, has authority. I say to somebody, come, and he comes. I say to somebody, do this, and he does it. The word has authority. So just, you don't need to come to the house, just say the word, and my servant will be healed. So great in his faith. We think about the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman, the hated Samaritan, who yet, when was talked to by Jesus, Jesus brings her from the point of, how can you, a Jew, then I can see that you're a prophet, and then, sorry, Jew, and then sir, and then I can see you're a prophet, and then could this be the Messiah? And then she goes and tells everyone, and then what do? They say, we don't need your testimony, we can see for ourselves that truly this is who you said it was. So great faith of that. We think about the Legion, the man who was cured of his many, many demons, and yet what does he want to do? He wanted to jump in the boat to be his disciple. And Jesus tells him, no, don't do that. Just go back and tell everyone what the Lord has done for you. And so in a way, preparing the people for the coming of the apostles, and they're the ones who they've sent to bring the message to them. So we think about all these people. And so if what Jesus is doing is saying, backing her into that corner, and then having her show that great faith to the apostles, then it makes sense. Then this gospel does make sense. Because what it is that the people can see that the great faith of the people, that there is saving faith. And they may not know it now. They might not understand it now. They might not accept it now. But eventually they will accept it. Eventually they will know it. And so what it is Jesus preparing the people for that time. And so what she has is that she receives the daughter's healing. But I think the other thing that Pastor Somerville talks about that I like is he says, that we can be, in a way, taken back by Jesus, who who always went out to people, always went out and did the healing and did all these things for others. And yet, what does he do? He ignores, he dismisses, he insults. But what does Jesus do when we do the same? What does Jesus do when we, ignore somebody who's being difficult? What do we do when we dismiss that person or insult that person? And so what it really is an opportunity for us to take a look at our behavior, even sometimes if things are difficult, and sometimes maybe if somebody is, even somebody who's scamming us, who's trying to scam us or attempting to scam us, do we bring that person to prayer? Do we do the things that we need to do? If we see somebody on the street and they have mental illness and, or addiction or things like that, we can help them, but we can also be a blessing to them by contributing to agencies, to people who actually do a great deal of work in helping with addiction and helping with mental illness. So there are a lot of things that we can do, but do we just kind of sit back and do those things of insulting, ignoring it, dismissing and insulting? Thanks, and God bless.